Good morning, everybody. This is Phil. I am the Down Under Maker. How is everybody? And again, my hair is everywhere. So, this morning we are working on our 3D Sets Roady truck again. I've done a little bit of tweaking off stream and reprinted a couple of parts because I wasn't happy with them. And hopefully that means that we will end up with a much better finished product when we get there. So, what have I been doing? Number one, I've been cutting out some windows. So this is the template for the rear window of the cab. We're going to do this one on stream, but I've already done the 2 door windows and the windscreen window, basically because I wanted some practice before I showed you guys on stream me doing this, because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Next, I've pulled apart all the suspension because I wasn't happy with it. I've reprinted some of the parts. I've stripped off elephant's foot from some of the other parts. And now I think we're in a much better place. I did just some fidgeting the other day while I was waiting for a print and found that it was jamming up a little bit. So that wasn't good enough. I decided to do what Steve Builds would do, and I took it apart and I've put it back together again with much better parts. So let's have a quick look at these windows while I'm talking about them. Now, how well these are going to show as transparent. Oh, they don't show too badly. Transparent items on the stream, I wasn't quite sure, but they do seem to show up okay, so that's good. I got my lighting okay for a change. In the set, there's actually some 0.4mm thick templates that you can print out, so that's what I've done. Now, let's go to that one. Yes. Okay, so my cutting board is a bit dirty and a bit gritty, so rather than damage my clear material, I'm going to cut onto some kitchen roll, and I'm on the cutting board here because that means that I'm not going to damage my desk too much with the razor blade in a minute. Now, I have scalpel blades somewhere. I have looked for the last 45 minutes and cannot find them. Hi, Keela! Let me just change my view so I can see chat a bit better. That one. Okay. So we're going to cut out the rear cab window in a minute. Hopefully I won't cut my fingers off in the process. And at some stage I need to find out where I put those scalpel blades, because that will make my life a lot easier. What I do remember is they were out. They're in a sealed up container, but Ryder had been putting his paws on it, and I picked it up, put it away somewhere safe. Where safe and how safe? Well, can't find them at the moment, so they must be pretty safe. So let us find a nice sharp scalpel blade to do this with. Did I have one on the bench? Nope, but I've got a hold set here. Now, when you're doing this, I heartily recommend, if you're doing it, to use the sharpest blade you can find. Lee Marie, are you wearing Jeremy's Down Under Maker shirt? Keela, have you stolen his shirt? I couldn't leave Jeremy out. So for those who weren't on the Lee Marie stream, I've been promising Keela a hoodie because she's been so generous with her time and support getting me set up. And so is Jeremy, for that matter. But just for giggles, I've been promising a hoodie to Keela, and basically very pointedly telling Jeremy he wasn't getting one. That's because he was getting a t-shirt instead. You can't leave the big guy out. He's such a top fella. Now, in the coming weeks, this isn't the easiest. You've got to kind of hold the template in place without it sliding around on a very, very smooth surface. Also, without cutting your hands. Now, I have checked the tolerances, and they are pretty loose in terms of how accurate you need to do this, and we can always trim the plastic a little bit afterwards. You think he had a clue? Morning, Jex. Now, this material is quite hard. So you can snap it. So what I'm going to do, I've just realized I haven't sliced it all the way up enough. To protect the master sheet of clear a bit better, I'm going to snap off this piece that I'm using, put away the rest of the material, and then we'll just work on this smaller piece, which is a lot easier. Now, it's coming up on school holidays, which you would have thought as a teacher would make it easier for me to stream. That's not necessarily going to be the case because I've got the, not just my son who'll be home, I've got my daughter as well. So we might be playing the next few weeks by ear in terms of stream time and how long they run for. So just lining all of this up, which is much easier with this smaller piece. The material has a natural curl into it, I presume, because it's roll formed. And as a result of that curl, it constantly wants to stand up. Now, I'm obviously not a proper pro streamer yet because I don't have XP on my streams. So you guys can't have your little XP war in chat on my streams. Now, I've trimmed it all down and realized I'd missed one small corner. So there we go, that's the rear cab window. Now, let's get rid of the template into the little bag where I've got all my glass windows and templates. Now I've redone my overhead rig a little bit, so it's not exactly in the same place it was last time. Natural curl like Phil's hair. My hair doesn't actually have any sort of curl. It's very fine, and as a result, it just sticks out, and there's nothing I can do about it. There. Rather than run the risk of damaging this window, I'm installing it. So this is just an interference fit. There. Now, while we're here and doing these inserts, you may remember a week or so ago we did the koala logo. It actually looks a little bit more koala-like in real life than it does on the image, but this is the one piece I didn't get to double check whether it fits or not. It looks like it should, but it might need some persuasion with the parallel pliers. So what I've got is I've got this corner and this corner all pressed in, and I'm now getting the parallel pliers and I'm just giving it a bit of a squeeze. And it's in. I don't think that's coming out anytime soon. That was, yeah, that's a very good pressed fit. Okay. There, and there. Sorry about that. We're just in the process of buying a new car, and the salesman is constantly pestering me for silly little bits of information one at a time rather than asking me all at once. So, label is installed. Let's see if this is any better. Bear with me 1 second. Not much better. Can I do this? That might be a bit better. Okay, so label installed, window trim installed, window trim is all pressed in. That's done. What car am I buying? Life size or a little one? I took my wife for a test drive in a BYD, which is a Chinese brand for people who aren't who are trapped in North America, and the car is exceedingly, and I do mean exceedingly quick. It's the BYD C-Line 7 SUV. It's got a 0 to 60 mile an hour time of about 4.3 seconds. My wife got in it, and she's not a speed demon by any means, but she doesn't mind a quick car. Her driving skill doesn't necessarily match her desire to go fast. So that we desperately did need to go for a test drive, and she squealed when I put my foot down. It was quite funny. It was like noise when we took off out of the dealership. Now, it's quite an unusual process here in Australia for a dealer to just hand you the keys and say, come back in 20 minutes. Normally they come for a ride with you. But this particular dealer, was very non-pressure, and he said, here's the key. Let me help you out of the bay, because it was a pretty tight bay that the car was parked in. And once we were out of the bay, we just went for a drive for 20 odd minutes and managed to take almost 20% off the battery, which was fun. So, yeah. I was then in my workshop here yesterday and living with the Lee Maries. That was a very sexy... Oh, that must be one of Keela's daughters, I'm assuming. EVs. Dude. You're young. For those who don't know, Jex is in Australia, and he lives on the East Coast, and he's in his mid-20s from what I know, and of course he likes his V8s. But the rest of us have grown up. So, yeah, we don't need that. No, it's Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy. Does your shirt fit, man? Oh, other thing I did off stream, I inserted the radiator grill because I kept dropping it and I was just scared I was going to stand on it. So radiator grill is pressed into place. It still needs a screw to hold it in, but it's in. So we need to mid-20s. Oh, you're going to launch a new channel. Oh, is this going to be Keela's cooking channel? So what we need to do is we need to put the chassis away because I got ahead of myself, and we need to start rebuilding the front suspension. Now, last stream, for those who weren't around, we did start soldering on wires onto the the motors, and we attached an XT60 plug onto something onto the battery pack so that we can plug it into the speed controller. What we need to do now is we need to rebuild the front diff and then redo the suspension arm because I broke it. And then we need to move on to other things. Now, we're going to need front axle 1 and front axle 2. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to get that window done and out of the way is I'm now going to be doing a little bit of grease, and I didn't want to get greasy fingers all over the windows. So I figured it was a good order of operation to do that. One greased ball joint. Now, what grease this is, I couldn't tell you other than it's what is left over from the box turtle kit. Put the lid on before I squish it and put it everywhere. We'll all get to find out soon. As long as it's not like UK Big Brother, Jeremy, because if it's like UK Big Brother, where it's following you 24/7, nobody needs to see you in the shower, dude. So we did do this on stream, fitted the bearing and put the clamshells together for the axles. But then we kind of got stuck and moved on to other things. Short stubby part of the axle goes in. And you need a little bit of filament or something similar just to poke it straight. And then press it home as hard as it goes. And it's in. Same with the other side. Where did I put the other side? There. Now the clamshell halves I actually did reprint because there was so much elephant's foot on one of the parts, it was causing it to bind up inside. But now it actually rotates quite smoothly, and I suspect once it's actually all screwed together, it's going to be good. And after a little bit of running in, even better. Might be a few guys out there who want to see me in the shower. To make them feel better about their manhood, you mean, Jeremy? Sorry, we shouldn't do that. It's not nice. Okay, so exploded diagram. Let's go to Chrome. So what we've got going on here, exploded diagram of the front axle. We've already seen and done this before, and it's just a case of putting it back together. So there's a dimple on one side which goes to the side closest to me, and that meshes up with the dimple. So let me just show you what's going on. There's a little dimple that sticks out on the motor chassis, and there's a corresponding divot in this part here, which then it presses into. Screwdriver. That's not biting. There we go. Hot tub streaming on Twitch. Doesn't somebody already do that? I think I've seen somebody with that. And yes, we'll go with the Jeremy told me so. That's not what I was trying to do. Jeremy told me so. I can, if I'm careful, stretch things now. I've uninstalled an add-on that I thought was required when I first started streaming, and now it's gone. I can stretch my pictures, stretch most of my videos without it breaking. What have we got going on? We've got one screw in this side, 3 screws in that side. All the bearings are in and the clamshells are built. So this is the clamshell part I was talking about. You kind of have to put one in place with 5 hands holding each piece and then slide that last piece in with the tongue on it here. And then it kind of snaps together. But that's as far as I got with that. That's the axles, which we already just did. So now we need to put it all together. So let's work this out. That one goes on that side. Okay, so I am now at this stage. I have both the steering arm parts on. They're both pressed as tightly as I can up against the what would be the differential. And it now says to put screws in. What are they? I'm going to guess they're M36s. Yes, they are. That's the rings. Actually, that should be the right size. That's the right size. Now, both of those screws are in. So let's go to Chrome again. So where we are at, we have, there we go. My hands are in the way now. We have these 2 screws installed, that one and that one, so they're in. Let's now go to the next page. And we now have to start rebuilding these suspension arms. Put the motor assembly out of the way for a second. Now, one of the reasons for dismantling all of this and printing new arms was it says it, but it's not explicit about what's going on with some of these parts. The ball joints are tiny, the pictures aren't very clear, and it's not, you're never quite sure which way they're supposed to go in. Like, you actually have to jump ahead to 1, 2, 3 slides, no, 2 slides, to know which way to put the ball joint in. So a little bit of grease. Oh yeah, Jeremy, for some reason, I can't grant you moderator privileges. It won't let me. I had to slum it and give moderator privileges to people like Jex. parallel pliers. Where did I put them? Did I put them away like a good kid? Or did I put them down? Somebody tell me where I put my pliers. I wouldn't have put them away. That's way too organized for me. Jeremy is sus. Agreed. Also a top dude. In most, there we go. Underneath the kitchen towel I was using. So let's just double check all of this. Go back to this image. Actually, let's zoom in a little. Make it easy for you guys to see. The wedge here goes upwards. So that's there. So just showing you guys, you need the special printed part as a spacer to allow the ball head to push all the way into its correct location. You need to kind of juggle the whole damn lot at once and have your parallel pliers set to the right size. There we go. And it's talking about installing the servo in a minute as well, so we'll get to that in a second. So that's done. We're up to this slide. So we have shroud. We have arm, which appears to go like this. So the arm slides into this groove here. Then we need some M316s. 2 of them. And we need some M3 nuts by the looks of it. Let's go for black so they're... Actually, let's go for silver so I can see them if I ever have to dismantle this thing. Plus it'll give you guys some contrast. So, screws down from the top. The arm slides in. So we need the whole assembly. Okay, let's show you guys a bit better. So, just here is a groove that the very end of the suspension arm is going to slide into. Then the screw goes down through here, through the arm, and there's a captive nut goes in that little hole there, which looks like it's actually got a little bit of printy rubbish in it. Listen, I check my boys' stream. I don't mind if engagement is engagement. It shows YouTube that people are actually on my stream and paying attention sometimes. So what I'm going to do with the M316s is I'm actually going to start them in the hole a little bit, because the holes do seem to be pretty snug. And that screw is just sitting so I can see the very end of it at the end of the hole. Yeah, so anyway, back to the car. We went for the test drive. Meanwhile, the dealer was taking our car to be valued. There's a little bit of swarf coming out of this hole. That wasn't too bad, that all shook loose. And then when we got back, he's like, oh, they haven't finished valuing it. I'll get back to you later in the day. So we went home. We weren't even sure we were actually going to buy. And then the valuation came through, and I was just down here working in my workshop, and I get an email come through, and it's a screenshot of the purchase order that my wife has just done for the car. I'm like, okay, guess we're getting a new car. Sorry if that was a bit loud for everybody, but percussive persuasion is needed, I think, in this one. There we go. One in 10 chance of a Polymaker win. I've got to get some filament sponsors, yo. Well, that can happen. One. You guys will have to start putting in a good word for me going, hey, Nick from Polymaker, we found this really cool dude who's doing streams. You should sponsor him. Because my filament rack behind me is looking a little bit sad right now. So, what we've got going on. This would really suck to solder the wires on later, which it tells you to do. Okay, so let's have a look. So we have these M316s and the nuts all in place. And that looks like one quite nice assembly. Next, I think we're going to be installing a servo. Hit up Jason from LEO. Did I maybe print the wrong part? Or use the wrong part? No, I can't have done because it's got... Bear with me one sec, guys. I'm just looking at Super Slicer. Have I got that here? No, I don't have Super Slicer set up on OBS properly here. Do I have it here? Nope, doesn't seem to work. Oh, there we go. Okay, Super Slicer's there. The servo doesn't fit, and it looks like, for some reason, it would never fit. So, front axle, open. No, there's definitely only two. I wonder if it's a support. Maybe it's a support that I'm supposed to break off. I do vaguely remember it saying something about this. So let's get rid of Super Slicer because we don't need it. And go back up in the instructions. Yep, it's a support piece. It's not supposed to be there. Okay. Now, I do have the inside track over some people in terms of some hardware. Some of you know that I'm a beta tester for a major manufacturer, and I have just received some new beta gear. So my plan is to actually have content ready the moment that the embargo lifts on the new products, so we can do a build using the prototypes that I've been sent, and that should mean that we can keep up with the big boys a little bit more. So back to the part of the manual we're on. Spill the tea, Phil. No. If I want to keep getting gear on the sly, I've got to keep tying the rope a little bit. What I am prepared to share is, though, the documentation that we were sent with the new gear wasn't particularly explicit in a few places, which obviously will be fixed before it goes live and there's a launch. And you could tell from the passion of the people who were going, where the F is the instructions to do this, that everybody's really excited about the gear. So bear with me one moment. I've just realized I need a really small Phillips head screwdriver, and they're over here. Let's try that one, and those two, and that one just in case. And look, you didn't wander away on me. That's not going to fit. Let's try that screwdriver instead. Yeah, that'll work. Just trying to make it so that I'm keeping you guys and what I'm doing in line with each other. I'm being super careful using this big screwdriver on these little screws so that I don't strip the plastic. So we have the servo mounted. We now need to put the head on. Now there's a good chance we're going to have to take the head off and put it back later, but let's run it all the way through its travel to one end and then back to the middle, because this should be a 180-degree servo. So that's 90. Put it on at 90, return it to mid-travel, and we should be good. Kilo, there's a good chance from what I understand, and no, I'm not in the beta, so I don't know this for sure, but there's a good chance by the time the production units are done, there'll be 12 or even up to 14 heads possible. So, where are we at? Servo steering arm. I don't think I have that. Let's have a look. There's a whole bunch of these things here. Small, medium, and large. Is there any more information? I guess this governs the amount of travel by the leverage. Let's have a look at this. Nope, they're all exactly the same size. So it must be how it fits on the arm, I'm guessing. Let's take that arm back off. Screw in tray so I don't lose it. Nope. I think that's it. That's what it is. Okay, explaining what this small, medium, large is. The height of the groove in here is different on each one. For my particular servo arm, for it to slide in as a snug interference fit, I need to use the large. Now that goes on here at 90 degrees. I don't remember who I was discussing it with, but I was just discussing it the other day with somebody. What's the chances, I reckon, of index being beaten to the pump by a knockoff by a lesser, well, a smaller manufacturer, we'll say. And I reckon it's not very high. My reasoning for that thinking is that if they're using induction heating on the hot end, it's going to take a while for Chinese manufacturers to reverse engineer that. And now we need a steering arm. That's the one that printed the best. Some of these parts are really fine, and this one took me 2 attempts to get a nice one. It says to keep some clearance under the arm, allow the rod. So that goes in there with what? An M310. I wasn't going to drop you in it, Nick. I was giving you anonymity. Now, I am not going to screw this all the way home to allow for a little bit of flexure in the system. It may take a while, but index has been talked about and hyped enough that anyone doing a knockoff has had plenty of time. They've had time to get their heads around how it's done, but have they had enough time to actually reverse engineer it to the point of being able to make it into a product? Having been on some betas, it takes companies a while to spool things up. Okay, so that is all in place. Let's go back to the manual so you can see where I'm at. I have put the M310 through the loop into this piece, which was the large it needed to be. So we're now all in place. It says keep some clearance under this screw to allow rod movement in both axes, which I have done. So next, M316s times 1 and M312 times 1, because there's another arm to go into place. Yep. So, next piece. This actually has a taper here for clearances. So I'm just making sure I've got it all the right way up. That appears to be right. The longest screw goes on my side. Goes through that arm first. To be honest, Stephen, I was kind of surprised that Bontech were advertising or suggesting the prices that they are, because that seems awful low for a product that they should be able to monetize very, very easily, and a lot of development's gone into this. I guess they're hoping to compete with the Chinese brands by going after them numbers-wise. Now this is awkward to do because you've got to get it all just right. Going to allow half a turn of a gap. Now threading into the other part. I can see myself having to take this all apart and remount these holes a little bit for some slack, but we'll see how things go. Yep. So guys, I know I've gone quiet on you. This is supposed to effectively be a reverse ball. So the pin is this screw is supposed to have quite a lot of slack, and there's just lots of extra printed filament got in there, meaning it's just not loose enough. That still needs more needle file. A round needle file, hopefully. See if that fits any better. Still very tight. Yep. You guys thought I was about to drill through my fingers, didn't you? By sheer fluke, I happen to have a 3.2mm drill in the drill chuck already from something I was doing earlier. So I may as well use it. Sorry if that was a bit loud. No, Jex, you got it the wrong way round. It's Keela's hoodie, Jeremy's t-shirt. Has she stolen Jeremy's t-shirt yet is what you need to be asking. Hi, GTR Dad. So GTR Dad, where we're up to, completely reassembling the whole front end suspension right down to the last few components. Because when we did it previously on stream, I'd missed a few steps and not understood, cocked a few things up, and I had horrible elephant's foot on a couple of parts. Doopy doo, doopy 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 doo. The last couple of streams that I've done where I've had background music have had copyright claims put on them for no reason. So all the music is me making silly noises at the moment. That seems to have a little bit of toe out on it, but I'm going to go with it. Oh no, the axles are straight, it's just the way the arms are done. Oh, that makes sense. Yep. So, we are at this stage. We have screw in here, suspension ball joint is in place. And now we need to put on the springs. These are 3D printed in PLA. How long they're going to last, anybody's guess. If they turn out to break, then I'll probably print them in ABS, so they're a bit more flexy. Let's go here. 1, 2. I think that will go in. That one goes this side. And that is held in place. Now, for those who decide they want to build this, there's actually 2 sets of springs. One for the off-road, which is what I'm building with the big ball tires. And then there's the on-road, which has a slightly different spring length because it doesn't need such big suspension travel. So an M310. Just helping the opening on that hole because it was on the print plate surface, so it's a little bit closed up from squish. There we go. Now there's no documentation saying not to, so I'm going to tighten that all the way to finger tight. Or you guys with your skylines. I grew up in the UK where RS Cosworth Sierras were available. And I had a friend who had both. And the Sierra was faster. I'm sorry, fellas. Okay. That doesn't look quite right. Give it a bit of a tweak. That's better. Straightened up the last little turn. So, let's make sure this matches. M310 on each side, which we've done. Springs are in place. So, I think we're on to the next piece. Front suspension done. Let's put that out to one side. Now let's do some rear suspensions. Let's just show you what I was talking about with the front suspension and the elephant's foot and why I had to reprint those parts. This edge here is what prints onto the build plate. And if you have any elephant's foot on it, the axle actually binds up on the elephant's foot because of its shape, but only in one direction. So it was a Harry Styles problem. So we're going to need rear axle parts, and we're going to need a whole bunch of screws. But this time I was a little bit more organized than I have been of late. Here's some stuff I prepared earlier. Put that there so it's easier to grab. Filament out of the way, screw in there so I don't lose it. And let's get on with this. The print 10 and print 11 refers to the build plates that, so the printed plates that come from in the STL pack. That's all printed and ready in those parts there. A whole bunch of M36s, which we've got there. A whole bunch of M312s and 16s. Gonna need 4 M320s. Now I don't have M320s in my parts divider because the parts dividers have got only the screws that I ordered for the job. I had so many of the other ones I didn't bother. And some M3 nuts, because we're all not nuts enough. There's plenty of videos online about how off-road capable it is, and the answer is reasonably. Now, what I'm going to do to help me pick apart which one is which, because these are ever so slightly different, I'm going to have 2 in stainless steel and 2 black nuts, so that I can tell which one is which from those nuts. So let's move on to some manuals. One, 2. Motor piece is here. Rear axle, so that's the one with the longest cable. That's this one. And go back to there for a minute. Now, in case you missed it last time, on the inside of the housing, there's a groove that you have to kind of twist and slide the motor into. And now we're going to need a whole bunch of M312s. Can you rock crawl it? I wouldn't say you could rock crawl it, but it's certainly reasonably capable of climbing. Is it the sort of kit you could probably take to the beach and play with in the slightly damp sand? Yes. Man, this is... I should have got electric screwdriver for this bit. Right. Just finger tight. Let's go back to here. And M312's on the other side as well. Can you guys hear that snippy, snappy noise every time I tighten the screw? Watermelon moonshine? Hello, Going DH. I don't think I've seen you on my streams before. You know who we haven't seen around for a while either? ADD, Adrian. Maybe he's working, poor guy. So that just goes on to here. Now the trick with this is to always do the one that goes into the motor first, and then pivot it around that point. Oh, nice. Oh, nearly stabbed myself in the hand. Now, would you guys be interested in any content on Super Slicer when the full version launches? Because I am on the beta for that as well and enjoying it thoroughly. And we've got so many new features coming. It's going to be a really nice suite once it's done. Bear with me one moment. Where's my Kapton tape? The contact on that motor just flexed a lot more than I feel comfortable with. So rather than take the risk of snapping it off, let's bind it up. Have I got scissors around, or do I need to just try and do it without blade again? I'm never going to have scissors around. Oh, wait a minute. Do I? Yes, I do. Yeah, rather than risk losing that contact off the motor and having to completely dismantle the suspension, let's give it some strain relief with some Kapton tape in the ever-returning philosophy of what would Steve Builds do. Steve Builds would probably actually replace the whole motor now anyway, but I don't have any to hand. That's much better. Okay. So let's go back to Chrome. It says we need the printed axle 1, 2, It says we need some bearings, which are here. And those bearings go on the outside. Okay, so these are an exceedingly snug fit. I am going to mute you guys for one moment while I whack this with a hammer. And I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Rather not deafen you by percussive reinforcement. So what I have just done is I've just waxed the bearings here into the right spot on the shaft. You'll see that there's a little groove, or sorry, a little ridge on the axle, which matches here. So the bearing goes on the outside of the axle. Now that goes there. So we're going to need a whole bunch of M316s. Do one side first, then get the bearings for the other. Bearing into groove. Now what I just did was I just used the parallel pliers to squeeze the bearing into its groove fully. And that feels reasonably smooth. That's good. Now we need to put these M316s in. Now it says they go there and there. Let's have a better look at this. I'm at the point where it now matters what I'm looking at in the manual, and then what I'm doing is I'm orientating it based on what I'm seeing here in Chrome. So this is the one I'm currently doing is this one, the top rear left, so rear left, and that needs those screws to go in from there. So go and DH, are you an Aussie or are you in North America? Oh, so judging from that, you're definitely not in Australia. Yeah, you can distill at home, but there's still that fairly regular news article where somebody's done it the wrong way and then made methanol rather than ethanol and ended up half blind. I just realized that image is upside down. Let me fix that. So that one, right click, transform, rotate 180. There we go. Now the hands match. Sorry guys, but nobody complained about it, so it can't have been affecting you that much. Nick, the strange thing is in the majority of the rest of the world, it's illegal to distill for fuel because the governments want the excise. One of the reasons that one of the big companies that was supplying fuel to the London taxis went under was because they fell foul of the changes to the excise laws. Okay, so let's match that to what's going on there and build the other side. These are M316s, yep. One thing that this build series has done is reinforce the fact that I desperately need to fix a few things on the Ender 5. The biggest being its part cooling is appalling. It's not the extruder, it's just the part cooling. So again, using the parallel pliers to squeeze that together. That feels good enough. I haven't egg-shaped that bearing, I hope. I may have egged that bearing. It just feels a little bit clumpy at 90 degrees. Oh, I've got spare parts for that. I can replace that if I need to. All right, let's have a look. What tool head am I running? It's currently a H2V2S Revo extruder and a 5015 blower fan, but the duct on it is just not very good. Partially because on the Ender 5, I'm already losing a bunch of build volume because of the design I used. My plan is to undersling the extruder on a rail from the X gantry, and then I'll have a lot more room. The H2V2S is really designed for bed slingers, and bed slingers don't have the issue with losing X travel. Mercury 1 rebuild coming. Interesting story. There's a local here who's been asking me to do his Mercury 1 build for him. So that's in early negotiation stages. because while it would be good content, that's a lot of labor on my part. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot smoother than that one, but we'll work with it for now. So let's have a look. We've got bearings pressed into place. We've got the 4 M316s installed. We now need some M36s. So let's work all this out. Installing the rear axles should be easier than the front axles. Where's the one that's not in there? Sorry, what's going on? The part that bites into the axle to make it drive properly is wedge shaped, so it's not circular, and I'm just making sure that hole is thoroughly cleared of plastic, because it's not looking very neat in there at the moment. Same with this one. Do you get GDS time? I guess that's what you're saying, GDS time. Do you get good 50/15 fans outside the US? Yes, we get lots. It's just my duct is rubbish to try and compromise between space and flow. The other option for the ender is to put a dragon burner on it. I've got enough parts to do 3 or 4 dragon burners. And no cat ears, Keela. No, definitely no cat ears. That's better. So let's make sure that we've got all this lined up again. That way up, that side, that way round. Just slides on that one. So why isn't it just sliding on this one? There we go. Might need to just file the edges of some of this off with the elephant's foot. Just in case any of my students find this, always pushing the file away from you to cut. Not pressing home as well as I would like, so I'm just looking for something I can use to lean on. That'll work. A spool of solder. That's better. Let's go to here. So yeah, there we go, all pushed together. And now we need M36s. They appear to go in front and back on this one. Screwdriver. Sadly, Nick, to import from West 3D would cost us too much money. I mean, use code LeeMarie 3D if you do buy from West 3D, but the shipping's a killer. It only really gets worth it when you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I suspect this screw is not quite going in because it's not pressed all the way home. That's better. Son of a... I didn't snap the contact off, thank goodness. Eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that that wire is now loose. Before we break the contact off, let's do that. We'll fix that once we're finished assembling here. So, accidentally knocked that. Let's go back to the right page. So the outer facing ones have gone in, now we need the inner facing. So, you can't easily see it, but there's an M36 going in here, and the same on the other side. Not sure what's going on with that chat window. Let's try this. There we go. It's a bit better. That's better. You can probably reach out a bit easier now. So we have got those screws in. Next, we need to mount on the suspension arm. Now, again, we need to be super careful about which ones we go with. Now, let me just show something to you guys. Notice here, there is no sticky outy piece on the arm. On here, there is. This is because you have to repeat the process twice. One for the rear axle and one for the, as they describe it, center axle. But unless you're paying really close attention, you're going to end up screwed. So let's find the right wishbone. I know I have them. I double checked I had them. Big tub of parts, where are you? I shouldn't have to do that though. Ah, they're underneath. Yeah, it's there they are. So, based on what we're seeing here, we are dealing with this rear axle, which needs the one without the little extra nubbin on it. We're going to need a ball head. We're going to need the grease. Where did I get grease? And we're going to need our pressing stencil. Goes in from that side with the ridges to the top. That's going to be too big. No, still too big. Don't you pop. It went pop. So let's throw that one in the bin. And grab the spare one I already had out. Oh no, did anything? Yeah, Jex, the arm went pop, the wishbone. Fortunately, like I said, I printed this a couple of times just in case. I don't know why, but that one felt a little bit harder and brittler than the one I did first thing. that into the first part of the groove. And properly home. No, not quite properly home. And I found that if I get a 2mm Allen key, that rotates around quite reasonably well there. So now we need a shroud, which just like last time, just simply slides into the groove. We then need the M3x2s. Now, I vote that we make the shiny screws the rear axle and then the not so shiny screws the middle axle. Hemostat, much better way of doing it. Nope, missed. In. And both of those screws are in place ahead of time. Does it say to put the screws in yet? No. Now it does. M320s. And shroud into place. This wishbone isn't pushing in as far as I was expecting it to. The holes are definitely not going to line up for the screws. Let's take the shroud off. Let's double check we've got all this the right way around. Oh, there's two pieces I've missed installing, so we'll need to think about that in a minute too. Let's go to here so you can see me a bit better. Okay. So this hole here lines up with that screw hole there, in theory. But for some reason, this isn't pushing deep enough into the socket. So I'm just evaluating why that would be. There is a little tiny bit of elephant's foot here, but it wouldn't be as much as it wasn't sitting in by. Now, let's have a double check of this. That fillet matches that piece there. So it should be this way up. We've definitely got the ball joint in the right way, so that all tallies. Let's check something. We've got the other axle's worth apart still. And I think I've identified what's going on. So, let's go. There's a lip here, right on the edge of the end of the part. And when I'm pushing it in, it's not quite fitting past that lip. So it looks like I just need to clean that surface there a little bit. And chamfer the end because we're not animals. Got to head off. Slack. There'll be a question at the end, Jack, so you have to come back and watch it as a bod so you can answer the question. So let's have another try with that. Where did I put the axle? Make sure I've got it the right way up. Still a little bit too tight. Just for speed, I'm shaving off the edge with a scalpel. So if you hear me go, ah, and there's a sudden red mist everywhere, call the ambos. And that's it. That's all it needed. It just needed that little bit of plastic taking off, and it slid all the way home. Let's make sure this is all still lining up. Yes, it is. But before we fit, let's fix this soldering job. Kapton tape removed. Soldering iron. Did I put it away? Was I actually a good kid? Not that good of a kid. Not where I normally put it away. I wasn't thinking, I put it away in the old putting away spot. Now, the other side of this door is a washroom, and I can still talk to you while I damp the sponge. And I'm back. Soldering iron is on. So, was there any more things we can do before that? No. Solder we know is right here because we were using it earlier. Let's go for the thicker stuff this time. I don't think we're going to need flux because we've already pre-tinned this stuff the other day. What we do need to do though is to confirm against this motor which way round we do the wiring. So that way up, black wire to the top. Remember I was saying last time we used the iron just how pristine the tip was? It's not really showing up as well on the screen, but that is shiny. Swap hands for this one, Phil. Now I'm a lefty, so this is offhand for me, so bear with me. Plenty of fresh solder on that one. Is that going to hold? Can you see it? Sort of see it. I did feel like I was being a bit tight with the solder last time, and it has definitely come back to get me. So wires need to be this way around. I need something to hold that more tightly. Not that vise, that vise. Oh, did anybody see that Crocodile Dundee has been remastered into 4K? That's not a knife, that's a knife. Again, double checking the polarity. That's better. Jex leaves and everybody goes quiet. That's much more secure. Break out the Kapton tape. Now, we didn't get as much done today as I was hoping for, but we have got lots done. Lots more than usual, at least. I was hoping that we'd get the wheels all mounted and be a rolling chassis. I don't think we're going to quite get there. Kapton tape in place. So let's go back to this. Put that to one side. Get rid of that. That goes over there for a minute. We're going to need that. Going to need that. Kapton tape out of the way. Looks like I missed hiding these parts up. I'm putting the daughter to bed. Always a noble endeavor. Took 55 minutes to get my 4-year-old to bed yesterday. That way around. That way around. And we need M320 through that. That needs to be turned over. Let's have a look at this. Now that's interesting. Odd and interesting. Have you noticed this? The screw goes through this extra part and this extra part, and then there's a screw dent here for the head to recess into, which obviously it doesn't. Maybe that's for the other version of the truck. Now these loops, if I remember rightly, are for mounting the rubber rings that are used for shock absorbers in this. And the screw has just reached the M3 nut. But Dad, going to sleep is boring. Yeah, it is. But it sucks to be you. You're well, not quite 4 yet and you need to sleep. This M3 nut isn't quite lining up. Nope. It's like it's not sitting quite in the groove, sitting in the groove quite deep enough. That's better. So that faces the rear of the assembly. Now I can tighten it down. Owie. Stab my hand a little bit then. No damage done. Normally she goes to bed pretty easy on a Wednesday night because she has daycare on Wednesdays and then pre-kindy on Thursdays. But last night it was just a drama. And that M3 nut it just took and secured. So make sure we're not missing anything else on this plate. Nope. And now we get to rinse and repeat the central axle, but with a slightly different part. Or, I'm bored with that. Let's mount the front axle, because we can. Let's turn that off before I burn myself on it and slide that out of the way. Gonna need that. Don't need that, that's for soldering. I just want to feel like we've made some progress towards a rolling chassis. So what I'm planning to do is put the front wheels on. Some M316s. That plate. And the special rubber plugs that I haven't even opened yet because I didn't want to lose any. This is where we find out that the dude in Malaysia didn't send me the right ones. Oh no, they appear to be the right ones. Right. Suspension ring. Plate. Other part. And that seems to be squished together. So again with the parallel pliers. Okay, so you can't see it on the diagram, so let's show you what's going on. Hands plus me. There's a big recess in this part, matching part, and there's a little rubber ring which I've just pressed into this part. Have to align that way. It already sort of semi-half fits. And I suspect that then this is held sandwich style in place against the bulkhead here. And it certainly looks that way. So let's just clean these screw holes up. Put the M316s in. Hopefully without dropping them everywhere. Steve, how are you? One thing's for sure, Steve, these Roadie's trucks aren't as well developed as the Reaper. There's a few little niggly things going on with it. Hopefully that's not too loud for you guys. It's pretty loud for me. Screw 1. Screw 2. I could really use a power screwdriver for this one. Hopefully you can tell by the change in tone that the screw is almost done. All right, one side is all the way home. Now for the other one. All right. That is all the way home. Made it home, Jex. Awesome. So, you just missed the really loud part where I was screwing in those M316s for miles. What we did was we abandoned the rear axles temporarily because I got bored and I wanted to fit the front wheels. So how does this install? We have an M320 up through the middle, and we have an M316 on either side. So let's grab those so we've got them around. Let's grab the front axle, which I had over here. Now I'm thinking, what size screw did it say? M320. Ah, I see what's going on. Okay. Now, just to explain what's going on. This piece here matches up with, sorry, I should show you chrome, shouldn't I? This hole here is where this tab fits into. So when it pushes in, the tab sits in the hole on the truck here, and then the M320 goes all the way through the ball joint and into the rest of the vehicle. Now that cable, as I understand it, should disappear into there to get to the electronics bay. So that's pulled through. M320 out for a moment and slide this into the notch. Now, I'm just aligning the printed springs, which seem to have gone into place. Now the M320 goes into the ball joint. And now it's just a matter of finding the hole, as the actress often says to the bishop. Did it. Now I just realized I didn't feed the servo wire. I think I should be able to still fish that through the holes. I'll work that out. So that's all in place. Next, we need the M316s to go through the springs. That's the M316s. If you're still here, Steve, you missed at the beginning of stream me talking about taking my wife for a test drive in a EV yesterday. And when I put my foot on the pedal, I was squealing, not realizing just how fast these things can be. And then halfway through the day yesterday, her sending me the purchase order that she'd just completed for the car, because she'd ordered it without even really talking to me about it. Not that I mind. Let's go to that one so you can see me a little bit better. It's not easiest screw to put in and show you guys, unfortunately. Almost there. Done. Okay, so where we're at, we have a front axle. It's a lot firmer than I was expecting, but that's pretty good. Let's see if I can tuck the servo cable through there. Where's the hemostats? There. Now, when I bought these servos, I did there was an option for extra long cable, so I did opt for that because I suspected I would have to fish it through an awkward spot. I can't easily see what's going on. I might have to do that off stream. It's not the end of the world. You guys wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing anyway. So, one thing I did just notice is that the power cable for that motor has come up through the wrong part of the chassis. So let's see if I can feed. Oh, there it is. There's the servo plug. So it is where I need it to be. Let's just show you guys. I'm not sure how grainy this is going to get, but down in here, servo wire. But what's happened is the power wire has escaped into the wrong part. It's come up here, which is where the back part of the think if I take this plate off, I can get that out easier. I can see it. Well, I've got a little bit better access now, but not a lot. Nope. I'm not going to dig that out on stream. I'll leave that in place for now. But it shows I should be able to get it out reasonably easily. Let's put these screws and this plate back in before I lose them. Go back out to there. No, that's it, yeah. That's too far, but it'll do. You can see. So where I was hoping to be today was suspension on and cab 3/4 built or fully assembled. Didn't quite get to the cab, but we have made good progress. Now, that is where the front part of the bonnet attaches to. So let's do that now, because I think that's just 3 M36s. And because it's not far away in terms of the job to do anyway. Because what I'm trying to do, as I'm sure you can see, is get to the point where there's a couple of extra pieces need to go in. One, two. Aha, that is a support. That was a support, it's now gone. That is a support, that was a support, and now it's gone. Left behind a little tiny piece of plastic. Don't cut your fingers off, Phil. Okay, so that sits up that way. And that presses into it. Or should press into it. It doesn't appear to be as good of a fit as most of these bits have been. And that piece sorry, I've lost you off the side, haven't I? That piece fits in there, but it's not fitting, which makes me think it's that one. No, maybe. There we go, that's just snap fitted in. That fits there, or should do. And then there's a little Then it screws into that, which is, that's what's going on. That's why I'm confused. Sorry. These are the mud guards. I'm just trying to work out how this goes. Let's make this a little small. Actually, can I scroll across? No, I can't. There's supposed to be an M36 screw, which goes through that and into there. Okay, that is next week's stream's problem. Let's put all that away. Let's put that there and that there. Back in the dumper. I got sidetracked. Let's get back to what we're doing. Side questing, squirrel brain, all that stuff. Let's put some front wheels on. Now there's a flat side here and a flat side here and round there. Matches up with the inside of the wheel hub. Pop. Projects, you caught a stream finally, yay! You caught the end of me side questing and then realizing that the side questing wasn't going to work. But we have now got ourselves to halfway through a rolling chassis. We have wheels on this thing. So in principle, that goes there. This very rear axle goes somewhere here. And then we screw it all together. Now, where are we at time-wise? We're 15 minutes over where I normally go to. So, back to me. Just in time for projects to get here and then go, crap. Time to pack up. I have finished the front suspension. We have built part of the back suspension. We've resoldered those wires on. We have pulled some of the wiring through, and we are ready to start assembling the cab next week. I have realized that there's a couple of screws missing from this part. Maybe they're in a part that we've been sidestepping around and we missed it, so we'll have to come back and double check that. We need to build the central axle next week and get that all mounted up. I think we might be actually one part short, but it's a printed part, so we can fix that. It looks like I may need to reprint some of the light trim pieces, but that's easy enough done. We did manage to dent my 32-inch monitor when I smashed that suspension arm. Hopefully I can rub the mark out. But we are getting very, very close. I reckon we've probably got two more streams of this, and then we will be done and moving on to something else. So, with that, I have been Phil. I have been the Down Under Maker. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and I will hop on out of here. Thanks, guys.